episode of Inside Out, and today we have a topic that I think has been a source of concern. I don't think it's a Nigerian thing, I think it's all over Africa. The issue of lands. It has caused rivalry between siblings, it has broken up families, it has caused deaths. It's a problem that cuts across, I think, all of Africa, Nigeria especially. So we have as a topic today, who owns the land? And I think we have a panel that's going to do justice to this topic. Please help me welcome, from my left, which will be your right, Mr. Stephen Edremota. He's the Secretary, Land Use and Allocation Committee, Ministry of Lands and Survey and Urban Development, Delta State. Sir, you're welcome to the program. And next to him is Honorable Ogwefi John C. Efinaya. Am I correct? Efianya.
Yes.
Efianya. Okay. Yes. The Senior Assistant to the Right Honorable Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly and a community leader. Sir, you're welcome to Inside Out. Okay. Please help me welcome an estate surveyor of repute, one who seems very knowledgeable on the issues of land, as we found out, Mr. Kolo D. Kolo. You're welcome once again. Mr. Stephen, I'm going to start with you. I think we should just get, let me call it an overview. Let's understand some things. First of all, who owns land? I think that's the first question.
Thank you very much for that question. Now, according to the dictates of the Land Use Act,
Yes.
1978,
Yes.
all interest in land in every state of the Federation was vested by that law into the trust of the state governor, who owns same in trust for the overall benefit of all the people in the state of Nigeria. So basically, as it is today, land is owned by the state, managed for the benefit of everybody in Nigeria.
So the state, the government
Owns
of
land.
the day owns the land.
Yeah.
So first of all, you have to get land from government.
Yeah.
Originally.
Yes.
Okay, so even the people who live in a community, can we say that they own the land in that community?
Technically, they don't own land. You understand? Because after the promulgation of that decree, every other person becomes a tenant of a sort to the state government. So communities no longer own land. So it is the state that owns land.
Okay. Now, my next question would be, I want to buy land, I go somewhere.
Okay.
They give me documents. You have just explained to me that the land belongs to the state.
Yeah.
Then they tell me this particular one does not belong to government. Government has removed it from its own ownership and has given it to us. How does that happen?
Okay, before I answer that question,
Yes.
let me get something clear.
Yeah.
Now, the truth about it is that it is government that owns land.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Now, but despite the fact that government owns land,
Yes.
there is still some form of communal ownerships and individual ownerships subject to the ownership of government. Now, in a particular environment, like for instance, Delta State,
Yes.
there are some lands that are owned by communities. I will explain what I mean by that. Okay. And there are some lands that are managed directly by the state government. Now, despite the fact that government owns land, when government is interested in a particular land, they acquire it for the use of government. You understand? Okay. But there are also some lands that have not been acquired from the original owners. So those lands that have not been acquired by the original owners are still managed by either community or individuals or corporate bodies or any other form of ownership that is permitted within the ambit of the law, subject to the lordship of the state government. Okay. Now, let me answer your question.
Yes.
As a follow-up to what I just said, now you talked about probably a particular area of land is deemed to be owned by the state government, and they are saying a part has been excised,
yes.
You know, is no longer okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that concept is a reality in Delta State. Now, there are some lands that were originally acquired by the state government, but over years, somehow, for some area, not every, some area particularly, probably based on the magnanimity of the state governor, he decided to sit back some portion to certain communities because of the outcry. And the cry is, government has taken all our lands, we don't have lands for our children anymore, and there is nothing, we just don't have anything anymore. So government ceded some portion back to some communities, and those portions are defined and they are definite.
Okay. Honorable Ogbefi, I'm going to come to you now. As a community leader, I'm going to talk to you as a community leader. How do you know which land belongs to a community?
Well, it was the musical maestro, the person of Sonny Okosu.
That said, who owns Papa's land?
Who owns Papa's land.
Yes.
We are born into a place.
Exactly.
We inhabit a place. And God has given us dominion over that place.
Okay.
So, for as long as I can cultivate in those good old days, so long is the expanse of my land. Are you following?
I'm with you.
So I own it. My family owns it. My community owns the land. And before the concept of government coming into land management, because I would prefer to use the word management instead of ownership. You see, communities go to demarcate their boundaries outside any other person.
Without recourse to government.
Without recourse to anybody. It is just two of us. We are neighbors who will go straight and demarcate our land, demarcate our borders. That is what it used to be.
Okay.
Now, but with time, because nature is never statistic. Nature moves. Yes. There is dynamism. Government now came in. And government wants to perform certain responsibilities, i.e., building infrastructures, etc. So government, as at that time, I remember in the 70s, government will write to the community, give us land to build school, give us land to build that, give us land for hospital. Are you following?
Yeah.
But until late Justice Igbe's committee came up, and then we have this land use decree, which vested land now
in the government.
In the government. Well, because government will want to do one or two things, the community will not easily access this land to the government. So government says, okay, we want to use our hammer to do what we want to do in any community. And that was how government interest became manifested in land matters.
That's in the 70s?
In the 70s.
Okay.
And then it continued like that. Well, to me, I personally believe that government originally knows that the community owns the land, and they are merely coming to manage the land for the community to remove stress and unnecessary. Because in the process of this demarcation of boundaries, people have been killed. Are you following?
Yeah.
And that is why when government takes a place, it may say, this is a no man's area, no man's land. So no community can lay claim to such a land or such a property.
Okay,
so,
yeah. I want to ask, is this where the problems that you are having in states about land originated from, do you think?
This is it. In my own understanding, following the events that are taking place all over, you can't begin to talk of this in the north, where a man can own several hectares. People don't have anything to do with land. But because our communities are choked up, and government must do something, and interest must be demonstrated, that is why this issue of land management, not ownership.
Okay, sir, let me talk to you, Polo, as an estate surveyor. I mean, you've listened to both. You're an independent person who works with land issues. I mean, you're a developer. What has been your experience when it comes to land issues?
Yeah, okay. I want to start by the question you earlier asked my other panelists.
Yes.
That who owns land. When we got to this world, we met land. And the increase of land, the supply of land is not increasing day by day. So I want to say that land is owned by our ancestors, our dead ancestors. The generations
This is a new one now.
that are
Very
yet
confusing.
unborn,
Okay.
and few that are living.
Okay.
Amidst the few that are living, government is owning a part of the land. And because of the quest for land, like my panelist said, okay, that in the north, because we have different tenure system. The land tenure system we have in the north is quite different from the land tenure system we have in the south. That is why when you see in the southern part of the country, the quest for land is very, very high. In the north, we have the land tenure system. The whole land is vested in the hands of the emir. And since the lands are vested in the hands of the emir, he can say, okay, Mr. Stephen, I give you from here to Okmanam. Mr. Speaker, I give you from here to Onitsha. But here, in the southern part of the countries, the land are vested in the hands of the family. But the family are not ready to relinquish their land. If they are ready, but the government is entering people's land. But government has land use decree of 1976, which was promulgated in 1976, gives the government power to take people's land for public purposes.
So who owns the land?
The land is owned by our ancestors.
Please, is anybody as confused as I am right now? Land is not owned by government.
It's owned by our ancestors.
But they are dead.
Few that are yet unborn and few that are living.
Your ancestors, the land they left, where is it?
Well, in Ibadan, Abuja, Kaduna, everywhere in the country.
Okay, so which one is yours now?
Well, I can trace mine to Ibadan.
You have land in Ibadan.
Of course.
That is yours.
That
belongs to your family.
It belongs to my own family, yeah.
And you feel, what if government comes today and says, we want to use that land, Kolo, for something? Do they have a right to do that?
Yes, government has right, provided they are using it for public interest.
Okay, that's where you come from.
Yeah.
That it has to be for public interest.
Interest.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. We're still talking who owns the land. Already me, I'm very interested. I think there will be an education here. Mr. Stephen, let me just come to you. I want to ask you a question. When government takes land and then, let me use the word, cedes some part of it to the community, what document do they give to show that this land, we're not going to tamper with it? Maybe today I have a governor that is community friendly and says, okay, I've given you this side, we won't touch it. How do I know for a fact that the next man who comes cannot change his mind, or does he have a right to change his mind and say, you know what, we want this part too? And then if tomorrow another person comes and says, you know what, I want that one that the last governor left. When it has been ceded to the community, can it still be revoked?
Now, according to the Elesi of Odugbolu, he says that land belongs to a vast majority of people. Many dead, few alive, and many yet unborn.
Yes.
That's his view.
Yes.
And we agree with that view. And
Ogwefi.
he also said that land belongs to the community.
Yes.
Now, the truth about it is that nobody is arguing about that fact. You understand?
Yes.
That's the fact from the basis. But the reality today is that that issue has changed. Now, in the mind of the people who contemplated the Land Use Act, they had 4 things in their mind. It's an enlightenment program, so
yes,
we should talk.
That's what it's about.
They had 4 things in their mind.
Yes.
The first thing is this: they were looking at the issue of lack of uniformity in the ownership and the system of land use. That was a problem that they wanted to cure. And they had another thing in mind. The second thing they had in mind, they were also looking at this issue of uncontrolled speculation of land. The third issue they wanted to address access. Before now, people cannot just access land anywhere. They wanted to address the issue of access of Nigerians to land wherever they live, irrespective of their state of origin.
I think that is a major one.
Yes. And the last issue they wanted to tidy up the issue of fragmentation of lands as it relates to individual holdings. Now, having cleared that, you will agree with me that the mind of those who contemplated the land use decree or act as it applies today is basically to make the management of land easy for everybody. Now, going back to your question, I want to use the word acquisition because it was acquired and it was the acquired.
Okay.
All right. Now, usually when government acquires a land, there is a procedure to do that. It's not just by mouth. There are things that are done to do that. Now, if in the same vein, if government acquires land, these things are done. It is gazetted, there is an approval, and it becomes a law. So if anybody says government has they acquired a particular portion of land, and because of that I want to sell, then the general public should be wise and knowledgeable enough to say, if you said government has they acquired, where is the gazette? Apart from the gazette, where is the survey delineating that area? Apart from the survey, let's go to the Ministry of Lands and Survey to find out the facts. The problem is that people don't find out the facts.
Are you saying every single land that is
acquired is documented?
Is gazetted?
Gazetted, yes.
It is there in your official...
the records are there. And everybody can access the records. So the problem is that...
Does it say who it has been...
The acquired
certainly,
yes. It is defined. It is defined. If the acquisition is done, it is not the acquired to everybody because that will be anarchy. It is the acquired to a particular community with the understanding that the leadership of that community will be able to manage the acquisition.
Can government de-acquire to an individual?
No.
Seriously?
Government does not de-acquire to an individual. But if for instance government acquired, decided to de-acquire, and if tomorrow the government decides to acquire again, it has the power to acquire again. So government can de-acquire, acquire, and reacquire, depending on the issue at that point in time.
Okay, Ogwefi, let me come to you. A community land has been de-acquired. That's a new word now. De-acquired to a community. How is it managed? Before we even come to the problems, let's know where it's coming from.
You see, I think the problem with this country is that we begin a process without enlightening the people about the process.
Okay.
This has happened in the matters of land in this community. The governor was magnanimous enough to de-acquire a certain, portion of the land around this House of Assembly, etc., to my community.
Okay, let's use that as our test case.
Yes, to my community.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there was the sound of the gong summoning everyone to a meeting. So whereas some few were saying, please let us know the area in writing and in specification. They said it has all that area.
Who is saying that?
The mobs, because you see, that is why I said
But weren't you given a document, as he has said, showing a survey of what...
This is the problem. This is the problem. There must be sincerity or purpose when these things are being done. The governor came out and made a public statement and gladdened the hearts of our people because we are not having a place to farm.
Okay.
Unfortunately, land speculators.
Close people.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The moving. We could not get the document. And even when we got to the Ministry of Lands to get this, it was hoarded.
But how can that be if it was ceded to the community? How can somebody else
The question is, who is the community?
Okay, good question. I think that's a good question.
Because you will discover some titled men went with little connections here and there. They took them to certain persons in authority in the lands. And before you know it.
So you're saying even though officially it has been said to be given to the community,
Yes.
it is really not given to the community?
We don't know which area.
Let me go back to you, Stephen, because there seems to be, this is the community, because I've seen this. I mean, people, they beat up people who are building, workers who don't know anything. There's so much going on. And I think there needs to be some clarification so that whosoever is buying must know what to look out for. Now, this is a community leader. Ogwefi is a community leader who has just said something very important here. The governor has come out and he said in his magnanimity, has made a declaration. I have ceded this part back to you. Acquired this part back to you. And then they do not have documentation. Can you please explain that? How is it possible that a community has a land and does not get, and you just said right now that it is officially gazetted and that there is a number. So how do you go from it has gone to this community to it is now with an individual? What is wrong?
If a particular parcel of land is the acquired,
Yes.
it is defined. And again, that process is not a day. Sometimes it's not even a month. Sometimes it is not even 6 months. You know, so
why is that?
No, I will explain to you.
Okay.
I think it's surprising to me to hear that somebody is saying that the portion of land that was acquired by Delta State government concerning a particular area in Asaba is not properly delineated. I think the problem we have is the problem of ignorance. A lot of people don't know what happens, they don't ask, and they get their information from the street, from beer parlors. If you go to town, you see people in beer parlors saying things about Ministry of Lands and Surveys, and you'll be surprised to know that they have never been to Lands and Surveys, and they've never had any dealing with Lands and Surveys. Now, I don't want to join issue here, but I want to enlighten the public. In Lands and Survey, the Surveyor General of the state is there, and the Office of the Director of Lands is there. If there are issues you are not clear with, you can go to Lands and Survey and ask, and you'll be enlightened. I stand here to say that the land that was acquired has a survey, has an area, and it is definite. Lands and Survey do not just pick people on the road and deal with them. If we are dealing, for example, with Asaba, the ministry knows the representative of Asaba. If we are dealing with any community, the ministry knows the duly assigned or accredited representative. So
you deal with whosoever
yes.
the authority
yes.
is.
So the facts are in our office.
Let me come to you, Kolo. You are also one of the people who have been indicted in this land issue. Based on what I am finding out now, and what Ogwefi has said alone, it seems like when you go to acquire land for the purpose of development, you actually do not go through the right process.
We go through the right process. Normally, if a particular area has been acquired by the government,
yes,
and normally what the government ought to do is, okay, if we are acquiring maybe phase 3, for instance, like the government sometimes 3 or 4 years ago, they acquired some part of phase 3, block 2. Do you understand? They acquired phase 3, block 2 to the government. But what they should have done is gazette this part. Okay, this
but
area,
he just said they always gazette it.
they gazette it, but not properly.
What do you mean?
One thing they don't do is, one, they don't gazette it on time. When you say, okay, we have acquired this place, they don't bring out the notice. The way, what I feel, what I think, and from my past experiences is, one, if government is exceeding this area to the community, they ought to publish it, that this particular area now belongs to the belongs to the community. Community or individuals. So people are not expected to enter into these places. But people end up entering the places.
If it is common knowledge, I mean, in their ministry, that this land belongs to a certain group of people, and you want to buy land, for instance, for development, and you get somebody come to you with a document, shouldn't the responsibility be on you to go there and confirm?
Yes, if somebody comes like a developer, if a developer comes to my office or come around me, that
and they want to buy land,
and he wants to buy land.
Yes.
The normal procedure, the normal thing I do is, one, you go to the Ministry of Lands, you go to the deed registry, you go check, do your search if the property is not encumbered, if it's not under litigation, and apart from that.
Halt, thank you for reminding me. If I want to buy land and somebody has given me documents to take with me to go and confirm, what should I be asking?
First and foremost, if the somebody has given you a document of landed property that you are interested in, you look at that document whether it is registered or not. If
it's registered, what should it have?
If it is registered, you see the back of the document, you will see the volume, the number, and the page in which it is registered. Then you can now come to the deed registry office to conduct a search. If it is not registered, the record of that land is not in deed registry, so there's no need to come there for any search. Now, if it is a registered property and you are in deed registry, you will come there to conduct a search. You present that registration particulars of that document you want to buy. They will give you the history card. In deed registry, there's a card for every property, every registered property.
In the state?
Yes, it is.
Really?
This card shows the transactions in that property. When I mean transaction, if you have sold to several people in that place and they registered their transaction, it's recorded there. If they have mortgaged that property before now and it is still on mortgage, you will know.
Is it possible to do any one of these things without registering it?
Without registering it, you don't have any record, so it's not there in the deed registry.
Okay. Yeah. That means, can I sell it to somebody without coming to you, and then you would not have that record?
Of course, if you can sell to somebody, but the person will normally, or you will seek consent first before you sell. That's the law.
So whosoever the latest owner is should show in your record.
The card, yeah. Whosoever the last owner is there in the card.
Let me let you continue from where you were. Somebody comes to your office, you go to the ministry, yes?
Yes, if somebody comes to you, you go to the ministry, you go to the deed registry, you check, you ask for the history card, your name is, you write down your name, they tell you to go do some documentation in the bank, you bring the receipt, change it to receipt and all that. So you check if the property is encumbered. If it's not encumbered, then if it's not encumbered, you could tell your developer or whatsoever your client is to go ahead and buy. But one thing I have also discovered is now, even in Ministry of Lands, sorry, I'm saying this, sometimes even in Ministry of Land, after doing search, when you go into the land, you discover that somebody else has a CFO on that property.
Okay. I'm going to look at that from a broader perspective.
Yes.
I'm sure you will agree with me that there are people who go to school with fake results. Eventually, they are discovered and they are sent out of school.
True.
That is the Nigerian factor. Now, the CFO is a document that is prepared by the Ministry of Land, Survey and Urban Development. And eventually, if somebody has a valid interest over a particular parcel of land, a CFO can be issued. A genuine CFO can be issued. Just as it is in any other facet of life, people who want to be dubious will always, of course, they fake Nigeria, our currency. If the currency is faked with all the security feature, what about CFO? You understand? They fake Nigerian currency. So what I'm trying to say that problem does not emanate from lands and surveys.
That's what I wanted to ask.
It does not emanate
so with
from
lands and survey,
yes,
can you have more than one person with a CFO?
Certainly not possible.
Not possible.
Not possible.
So from all the people who come with a CFO, only one person is authentic as far as you are concerned.
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, what I'm going to say is, yeah, he's a land secretary. Yes. The present administration has been fighting authenticity of land. Yes, maybe past administration, not the past government administration, could be maybe previous commissioners and all that. We've had cases where we have two dual CFO on a portion of land.
That's the one.
Yes.
You know, I kept telling you,
yes.
How is that possible?
Very, very, I'm coming. Very, very possible. Sometimes I have gone on several occasions to do search. And
you find two people with
yes,
one
but
CFO.
Sometimes the deed registry is here. Occasionally, he has helped me on several occasions. Okay, if you want to do search, let me check. He has a small laptop. So let me check if this one has a previous CFO. Please tell your client not to buy this. Tell your client not to buy this. This, if he buys, there will be litigation.
That means he has the person who has the original
That
CFO.
means he's fighting it. For him to have a laptop that has proper documentation of all the lands that have been given to allottees.
Let me help him.
Yeah.
Let me help him. Now, you see, before now, the process of what we do in lands and survey was manually driven.
Okay.
I want to get that clear. It was manually driven. Paperwork from one table to the other. And you know, when things are done manually, sometimes there could be genuine, innocent errors. Of course, you don't imagine, for example, a man, you don't expect somebody like me, for instance, to keep the record of maybe 200 CFOs in my head at the same time. You understand? Before now, things were done manually in the Ministry of Lands.
So it was possible to issue 2 CFOs?
So it was possible in error to have done that in time past. But as it is today, by the grace of God, our commissioner and His Excellency, they're working so hard about that. We are going into the automation of our CFOs. In other words, we are digitizing. And it's only a matter of time that issue will be a forgotten thing.
All these things we are talking would not have taken place if there was proper enlightenment of the masses.
That is that's what you see as the problem.
Yes. For instance, we are talking about, we know who are the community heads. But where someone in the ministry is not interested in dealing with the appropriate authority, let me tell you even that sometimes we have also sent papers of who and who are the proper authorities to the police. Yet people are being arrested. People are being harassed. Some persons will go there. I don't know anybody there. He knows somebody there. He is not of any known factor in the community. But he gets there, he moves around, he comes out with results. I will go there, nobody is talking to me. That is the truth.
So what you're saying
is
that the process has not been transparent.
How can it be transparent? You see, when a situation whereby
you know what
he is now telling me about, he's now telling us about the deed register secretary or so.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Now, if I can come to him as the Dioba of my community, and he listens to me.
Have you ever gone to him? You didn't?
We got there to the director, he will not speak with us, to the commissioner.
Why are you going to all those people? Wait, I want him to.
This thing has happened.
Yes.
And we got frustrated.
Why?
Because when you go to the commissioner, he's not there.
I want to know how come he is able to do it and you are not able to do it. I can't get that.
Now he is a businessman.
Okay.
And before you go into business, you must know your onions.
Okay.
I've seen his face. We're in this program now.
Yes.
There's no way I can go to him in his office. He will not listen to me.
Okay.
Okay?
Are you saying before now you could not go to his office?
But I don't know him. He doesn't know me. When I go there, the way he will treat me will be different from the way he's going to treat me after knowing me now.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
When the government has said, I have acquired this place.
Okay.
As people begin to move in, the lands and so will stop them from going there until proper documentation has taken place.
I agree with that.
But they move in there, and that is when there is exchange of things. Are you following?
But I'm also saying, isn't it also your responsibility to ensure that you are not swindled?
Don't you know that a lot of people benefit from controversy? This is it. Controversy.
Yes. Behind the deputy governor's office, the whole of that area is called Central Span. So many people, about 2 or 3 years ago, so many people have been building in that area, and governments were folding their hands. All of a sudden, a commissioner just came and started demolishing people's houses. But when they were building, when they were even getting, some of them got approval, some of them did not even get approval. When they were building, the government was there, they did not say anything.
Is it possible for government to demolish your house if you have a legitimate CFO?
No, government will not do that. Government is not irresponsible. Let me explain something to you. Now, government has a department that takes care of issues like that. But you know, the truth about it is that sometimes there is this issue of restiveness. Sometimes there's the issue of flagrant disobedience, impudence. People just go into government's land, they just start building. Even when town planning people come to mark their building, they are marked today, tomorrow they paint it off. People are just stubborn. You understand? When government says you are building illegally, stop. The people will not stop. When town planning officers go there, they will either try to undo them or even try to. There are instances where people have brought guns and no manner of things to harass staffs of Ministry of Lands and Surveys. People will not say that on TV. You understand? But the truth about it is that before government rolls out the bulldozer, government has done its assignment. And there is no person whose property government has demolished unjustly. There's not even one. I can come to say, government demolished my property, I have all my titles. There is not one. Because if there is one, then people knows how to seek redress.
Usually before we go to site, we try to identify illegal structures. And which are these illegal structures? There are those who probably go to lands that do not belong to them, or those who don't have valid approval. Usually they are supposed to submit development plans for consideration, and when we look at them, we grant approval. And when we identify these illegal structures, we serve enforcement notices, starting with a stop work notice, asking them to stop. Some of them will be adamant, so we go further to serve contravention notices. And after waiting for about 3 weeks, they don't stop, then we serve demolition notices. And after that demolition notice, it takes a process. We get an approval to bring such buildings down.
You said my office is not easily accessible. That is not true. My office is as accessible as anything. One, you cannot access my office for a search when your document is not registered. You don't have any business in that place. If you know, like he aptly said, what you are looking for, you know where to go to. I think that you may not have known what you are looking for. That is why you are not able to access my office. Otherwise, my office is accessible as anything.
Ogwefi, you want to say something? Yes, you can talk to him. This is your chance.
Yes. I want to ask you, when the governor gave us the Obanan side, Umuagu community, we went and divided the whole of that land, isn't it? When we divided, nobody talked. Suddenly somebody came with a CFO. And the matter went to court. We asked land to come. Land did not come. It took a long time. Before finally, some miscreants went and signed a letter of consent.
Did you go to find out from them who originally should have that document?
Of course. I am talking as a community now, not as an individual.
Okay.
Umuagu community. We got to lands. Although, you see, I don't know you before. I'm just seeing you.
Don't need to know.
No, wait, I'm coming. I'm just seeing you. We went to lands. The community went to lands. One Igbo man just came up of late and brought out a CFO. Said that the place was. I said, what do you mean by that?
Did he say that government gave it to him?
The government gave it to him. We said, okay, let us go. This is the acquisition notice. This is your own CFO. From this notice, are you not aware that government has acquired this very land you say you have been given?
Okay, go on.
Yes.
Now, I will want to make one thing clear. There are CFOs that are issued. CFOs are for private land as well as government land. These are two different issues.
Okay.
Now, if the CFO you are talking of is private-owned CFO, then you ask yourself, who among your community sold it to him?
This land was not sold to him by any member of the community.
The CFO you are talking about need to be identified whether it is government CFO or private CFO.
You see, these are things that people don't know. That's why I'm allowing this conversation.
We said, that was why I said,
did you know whether it was a government
proper
CFO?
Enlightenment. If government,
this is so important. I've never known that there is a difference. First of all, I'm hearing that for the first time.
If government has acquired a particular area, There must be real enlightenment. Then people from land will not take members of the community to the area to map it out. That's
Which means the C of O you saw might not have been a government C of O.
Well, it's a C of O from government, not from lands. From lands. So from lands.
No, you know why I'm happy about
It's
this?
government.
There are things coming out that
Yes.
a lot of us have never heard before. I'm hearing this for the first time. And I'm sure this does not only work in Delta State, it works everywhere. There's a difference between the C of O you acquire when you get directly from government and the one you acquire when you get from an individual. I didn't know that.
Come to the starting point, there is an issue that is still pending, and that is who owns the land.
Yes.
We have three different opinions. In the first place, we have law. Any society without law is a disorganized society.
Thank you.
That you create anarchy. And I want to remind all of us that any society that is developing must have evolutionary issues. And one of them is the land use decree. Land before that very time, some of them have outlined some of the problems that elicited land use decree. And they are real. It's not that we are at this age, we don't know what was happening. Go to your history and see wars and counter wars, tribal wars. It was as a result of land. And that was why government, one of the reasons why government came out with land use decree. And land use decree has vested land in governor of a state. Any governor of any state is holding the interest in land for the overall interest, holding land interest, interest, that is title, in the interest of the general public. There is no disputing about that. That is Nigerian law as of today. It has not been abrogated and it stands. So any person saying land belongs to community or this, I don't think is conversant with the present trend of things. What obtains is that the community is in possession of that very land. They are using it. But anytime government want to use direct acquisition by compulsion, they do that, and it is by fiat. You see, when government acquire land, government can deacquire based on overriding public interest. And when government acquires, it is not just gazetted, it is advertised in the newspapers. I want that correction to be put into the minds of everybody.
So it is advertised.
It's advertised in the newspaper. There is no one day any land is acquired or deacquired without gazetting and equally advertising it in the newspaper.
If you look around Asaba these days, you will see a small tag, a small number on almost every property. If you key in that number has coordinates of that property. We all know that there is no property that has two different coordinates. Now, if you want to buy a property, you take those information, come to lands. What will key in those numbers, we'll be able to get all the information relating to that title and also verify that.
Is this only for developed buildings, or does it apply to landed property?
For now, we're only able to tag buildings that are existing. You cannot tag an empty plot. Okay. But if you have an empty plot, you can come and register it. Once you have the title documents, you come to Ministry of Lands, you pay a sum of 5,000, and we'll go back there, capture the coordinates, enter them into our LIS system, and store it. If there are disagreements in the future, we'll be able to say, so person has come here before. He has registered this title. So if another person comes with the same documents and the same coordinates, they will know that that land is in dispute.
So I'd like to take last line, something you want people at home to go away with concerning this topic. Kolo, let me start with you.
Yeah, what I want people to remember is that anytime they want to buy land, or anytime somebody tells them that I have a land for sale, they can walk in straight to Ministry of Lands and get their property properly documented or do a good search.
Thank you very much. Ogwefi.
I want my community to now know that they should be under an organized authority and then talk accordingly.
Yes. Sir, and thank you for the enlightenment. You really did help. It was wonderful having you. Yes.
Yeah. Ignorance is not an excuse in law. So I want to advise everybody, if you have anything to do with land-related matters, seek professional advice.
Fantastic. I don't think I can end it better. Let us seek professional advice. I think that's the best thing. For whatever it is you want to do, there are people who are trained to do these things. Thank you very much for your contributions and your comments. Thank you to my audience. Until next week when we come your way again, talking about something else equally as enlightening. Bye-bye and see you next week.